President Trump and other top officials deny saying many of the things that appear in Bob Woodward's explosive new book on the administration. Fear, Trump in the White House, shows the president lashing out at high-ranking aides while staffers try to control Mr. Trump's impulses. White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders says the book is full of, quote, fabricated stories, and said the president's approach through unconventionally always gets the results. David Martin has read the book and has spoken to Bob Woodward. He's at the White House. David, good morning.
Good morning. Woodward's book, published by Simon & Schuster, a division of CBS, describes the White House as a, quote, zoo without walls, where aides feared not what the president might do to them, but what he might do to the country. White House Chief of Staff John Kelly, who spends more time with the president than any other official, thinks he is unhinged, according to Woodward, who writes that in one small group meeting, Kelly said, "He's an idiot. It's pointless to try and convince him of anything. He's gone off the rails." Responding Tuesday, Kelly called that account not true. Last year, Kelly said being chief of staff is the hardest job he's ever had.
It is not the best job I ever had.
Kelly is quoted by Woodward as repeating that sentiment, saying, "We're in crazy town. This is the worst job I've ever had."
He's very thrilled not to see rockets going over Japan.
According to Woodward, Defense Secretary James Mattis told close associates the president acted like and had the understanding of a fifth or sixth grader.
The barbaric killing of small and helpless children and babies must be forcefully rejected.
After the president saw video of the aftermath of a poison gas attack on Syrian civilians in April 2017, he called Mattis and, according to Woodward, fumed, "Let's expletive kill him," referring to Syria's dictator Bashar al-Assad. Mattis said he would get right on it, but told a senior aide, "We're not going to do any of that." In a statement, Mattis said those words were never uttered by me. According to Woodward, the president also refers to his attorney general as mentally retarded, and also, according to Woodward, said, "He's this dumb Southerner." Tuesday evening, the president denied that account, adding that Woodward made this up to divide. Earlier in the day, speaking to the Daily Caller, President Trump claimed Woodward had a lot of credibility problems, and on Twitter wondered whether Woodward is a Democratic operative. Woodward tried, but was not granted an interview with Mr. Trump, and in a brief phone conversation last month, Woodward warned him what was coming.
It's a tough look at the world and your administration and you.
Right. Well, I assume that means it's going to be a negative book.
Woodward also reports the president's former attorney, John Dowd, felt he would commit perjury if interviewed by the special counsel. Dowd felt the president had nothing to hide, but also believed he was a, quote, expletive liar, incapable of giving a simple factual statement. Dowd issued a statement last night denying he had ever called the president a liar. Norah?
David, Bob Woodward bases this book and his reporting on hundreds of hours of tapes with these sources, many of them who spoke on deep background. I know since you spent time and have known Bob Woodward for many years, perhaps explain sort of how he does his reporting to sort of circle in on this narrative of what's happening inside the White House.
Well, first place, the ground rules for his interviews are deep background, which means he can use the information but not the names of the people he's interviewing. He tape records all of the interviews. Those interviews are transcribed by an assistant, and that is his primary source as he begins working on a book. But in the course of those interviews, he also gets these people to turn over diaries and notes they kept during their time in office. So he is working from a wealth of material, and we should point out that after some of the White House denunciations of the book came out yesterday, Bob Woodward issued a statement saying he stands by his reporting.
David, there is always backbiting and palace intrigue in any White House. This account of this White House is extraordinarily different because it paints the president as incompetent in many ways. Specifically, the accounts, there's a lot by the Defense Secretary, Jim Mattis, as you know, does not do many interviews since you cover the Pentagon. In one particular exchange, which you just hit on, the president questioned why we have troops on the Korean Peninsula, to which the Defense Secretary said, "We are trying to prevent World War III." Do you believe that the Defense Secretary spoke with Bob Woodward on deep background?
No. and in fact, I know he didn't speak with Bob Woodward on any ground rules. But Mattis comes across here as sort of the Trump whisperer in this administration, the one official who somehow knows how to handle Trump. And he does that by essentially agreeing with whatever the president says. You have a good point, Mr. President, your instincts are correct, but let's try and do it this way. And the bottom line is the U.S. has not withdrawn from any military alliances, and the U.S. has not engaged in any reckless military operations overseas.
All right, David, great to have you this morning. Thank you so much. And only on CBS, you can watch David's full interview with Bob Woodward. That's this Sunday on CBS Sunday Morning.